Hi guys, it's Jeff here, the Photographer's Mentor, and this is my first live of 2022. Got another one tomorrow, so tune in tomorrow at 4 o'clock where I'll be talking to Annabelle DeFlux, who is a band photographer from the US, and she's going to talk about how she's broke into the band photography market and become very famous actually as a band photographer and built a huge brand, as well as being an ambassador for Sigma. So today we are joined by Karen Richards, who is one of my one-to-one clients. She's one of my mentoring clients. She's a headshot crew, headshot photographer from Nashville in Tennessee. And Karen has built a premium brand, an awesome premium brand, which has allowed her to increase her prices, I think about 3 or 4 times since I started working with her. And she's now the premium headshot photographer in the whole of her county. She ranks really high on Google, and she's managed to achieve this by building a 5-star experience for the client. So it's all about the experience, and these experiences that she's been delivering has led to a lot of Google 5-star reviews. She's got over 100, I think she's got 158 Google 5-star reviews, because I was looking at her website this morning. So she's going to talk about how she's built this premium brand, how she's built this experience, how she gets those 5-star reviews, and how that's allowed her to charge a lot more for her services, but reduce the friction with clients, the type of clients she's now getting, her ideal clients. So this is going to be ideal for anybody who also struggles with a bit of pricing issues, who has problems with imposter syndrome, and struggles with getting that premium price. So I'm going to bring Karen in now, and we've got a few questions. And if you have any yourselves, if you have any questions yourselves, please just pop them in the chat. Hi, Karen. Great to see you again.
And you.
So you haven't been a headshot photographer all your life, have you? How long have you been doing it now?
So headshots, I guess about 4 or 5 years, but really focusing in and niching into it since I've been working with you. So 2 years.
So prior to that, you were in the commercial sector, weren't you? And this is you've utilized some of your background in customer service in the commercial sector and being able to bring that across to your headshot photography to create this great experience. So tell us just a little bit about your photography background, because I know that you've trained with Peter Hurley from the headshot crew, haven't you? And as you say, you started this about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. So I guess my photography background started when I was very young, because my dad was a keen photographer. So I can remember being 5 or 6, and he had an old twin reflex camera, and I remember being on the beach and looking down into it and him showing me how to work all the controls. So I've had a camera in my hand pretty much all my life at some point, and but that's not the direction I chose to go in. I went into, I didn't really choose any direction. I bounced around the job market for a while, and I just I left school really without knowing what I wanted to do. I went and studied business studies for a while. I dropped out of college. I found the thing that I was really good at was partying, and unfortunately there were no jobs that would pay me money for partying. So I worked in a bank for a while, and I ended up in sales, and by a series of happenstances I ended up in the construction industry, first of all in sales roles, and then in project coordination and business development roles. And I ended up in some quite senior executive roles in large construction and FM companies in the UK. And really my role was dealing with clients all the time. So I sat above the project teams, and I did the negotiation. I also was a client liaison. So I was the person they called in if there was new business opportunities. I tended to stay very close to my clients and attend meetings so I could pick up any issues that were coming up. And I was also the person that came in when the shit hit the fan. And in construction, there's a lot of shit flying around all the time. So I was often dealing with clients at times when there were a lot of problems happening. And there is nothing better to help you build a strong relationship than having a client with a problem and you're solving a problem, even if you created the problem.
Yes.
The fact that you're taking responsibility for it and fixing it, it really builds trust with customers.
That's right. And I think, like I've experienced that myself, if you can turn somebody around from having a problem, you can address that problem and then over deliver. They turn the other way and they become, really clients for life, because you've exceeded, you've solved their problem. So coming from the corporate market to headshot photography, you trained under Peter Hurley, is that right? And then you set up your business as a headshot photographer.
Yeah, so I stumbled on the headshot career. I started getting more headshot clients, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I was shooting the same way as I used to shoot my portrait clients. So basically, anyone that came in, I'd play around with my lights till I got something I liked, and there was no real consistency. And I wanted to build a portfolio that I could pop just of headshots on my website, because I've felt, it would be a nice little bolt on to what I was already doing. And what I was doing at the time, 2016, 2017, was probably 50% of what I was doing was high school seniors, which is a thing over here. You say senior photography, people think you're going around residential homes and shooting elderly people, but over here, seniors in their final year at high school, they're 17 years old, and they have photos with their cap and gown, and then they go out and they'll have some photos to commemorate the fact that they're in their senior year. And so I was doing a lot of that, and it's a very, very competitive marketplace because you don't need a studio, so anyone with a camera can do that. A lot of weekend warriors, also a lot of companies that specialize in it, that hire students straight out of school and put a camera in their hand and give them minimal kind of tuition and pay the minimum wage. So there's a lot of people doing it. It's a very highly competitive market, but of course every year there's new high school seniors. So I was doing that. I was shooting families. I was shooting models. I shot cocktails for a restaurant. I was doing events. I was doing some freelancing for a company that did frat houses and sorority houses. And, I was doing all this, running around, being a busy fool, doing everything for kind of minimum wage. And we converted our basement into a studio, and I wanted to start filling my studio up rather than, running around half the country, just shooting. So I saw headshots as a way of doing that. And I didn't know what I was doing. So I Googled them and I found Peter Hurley, and I joined the headshot crew. I lurked for a while, and then I started getting more active on it. And my work kind of slowly improved because, at the beginning it sucked. And part of it is a confidence issue as well. Even when we were talking about imposter syndrome, when you start out, you have to go through a learning curve. You go through the phase where your work actually isn't terribly good. And then you get a bit better. But is it good enough that you can actually charge people money for it? So I found that quite hard, asking for money to start with. And I probably undercharged for my services for quite a while. And then I grew in confidence a little and started charging a bit more, and followed the headshot crew, sat in on the crew cast, had my work. I had feedback on my work from Peter and from the crew. I heard some hurtful things about my work, and I started improving. And then a couple of years ago, I became an associate within the crew, which means that basically Peter feels that my work is good enough that he can recommend me to anyone that's looking for work in the area. So that was my ultimate aim, was to be good enough that I felt confident that I could charge a decent amount for what I was doing.
And then obviously since the past couple of years since we've been working together, your your standard of photography is continued. It's been in my eyes, it's been the same. I thought you were fantastic when I first started working with you, and still fantastic, still beautiful portraiture, beautiful headshots, but the difference is the brand. So the brand has changed.
Yeah. The
message has changed and the experience has changed. What you've done now, you don't actually do a headshot shoot. You actually create an experience. So an experience as in when people come to it, they get value from it. From the minute somebody gets on the phone to you, you look after them. It's a clear, frictionless transaction from getting in contact with you to getting the end result.
Yeah, and the work. My work will continue to move on. When I say I suck, I didn't suck. I wasn't terrible. But when I look back now and I compare it with what I'm doing now, I want to see, I can see a progression. And next year, I want to look back at what I'm doing now and think, I could have done that better. And I want to be replacing it with new stuff that I think is better, because I think that's, as an artist, it's important that you don't stand still. Yeah. That you're looking for ways for the ways to improve. And I've always aimed to give a good service. When I worked in construction, and a lot of my clients were retailers, I had this concept called customer journey. So if you go into a Marks and Spencer's, they were a customer of mine for a while, they have mapped out every stage of their customer journey. So that's from not just in the store, but from how they see their advertising when they see a billboard, what they see on TV, and then right down to the experience when they go along the high street. Is there a sign all lit up? Is there front window? Is that inviting? When people come in, do the doors open smoothly? Is the heat curtain on in the winter? Is the building the right temperature? Are the toilets clean? All those things are part of the customer journey. So it's not just about the price of the clothes and the quality of the clothes. It's about the way that people feel, because it's like Maya Angelou quote: people forget what you said, people forget what you did, but people never forget how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. So customer experience is about the feelings. It's not necessarily about the photography that you provide. It's your price, or about the coffee you get, or anything like that. It's about that whole feeling. And then when I was in the corporate world, we managed that very carefully as well. And we had teams of people doing it for us. But there's a concept called trusted advisor, and we were kind of told to position ourselves not just as a service provider, but as an advisor to the client. So you're going beyond just delivering a service. I mean, FM is things like building maintenance and cleaning toilets and everything. So you can be seen as quite a low-level service contractor. Instead, we were going in and we were offering advice, and we were solving problems. And it's the same with, I think, for photographers, we're solving a problem.
Yes.
And we've got a chance to make people feel good about themselves or about their product or service. So it's about really harnessing all the feelings side of things. And unless, as a photographer, you're selling to a stock agency, you're interacting with other people. So it's especially true if you're a portrait photographer, but if you're a food photographer, if you're a real estate photographer, you're still dealing with other human beings. And it's really about the ease that it is to deal with you, and how good you make those people feel, and how you solve their problems, and how you make them look good.
Yeah.
So either look good in a headshot, or make them look good because you're a real estate photographer and you've done these beautiful photos for a realtor, and they've sold someone's home really quickly because of your photography. So it's still about making people feel good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is. And I think, sometimes I think something we forget as photographers, when somebody comes to our website, they see our website, they see us. To us, we see our websites all the time and we know what we do. But quite often the person who comes to a professional photographer may never have had dealings with a professional photographer before, so they're going to be apprehensive. They're going to have a lot of questions. They don't know how the whole thing works. And I think, first of all, obviously, there's that perceived value. So if your brand looks expensive and feels expensive, and you've got those reviews that say, quality, and you've got 158 Google 5-star reviews, so that straight away adds authority to your brand and ups your perceived value. But then if you can make the whole process frictionless for the client, so it seems really smooth, and they're like, oh, so it's this simple. I just book my headshot. You'll take care of me. You'll look after me. You'll advise me. You'll coach me. You'll get the best at me. Then I get to see my images on the day, and then I could be using them in 2 or 3 days' time on my social media profiles and on my LinkedIn. So I think we got to remember that, to us it's plain, but maybe not to the client, because they've never used a photographer. So one thing you looked at, and I remember when we first started, one of your big goals was to get 100 Google 5-star reviews, and now you have 158 Google 5-star reviews. And I Googled you last week and saw your local search there, and you sitting up there with all these reviews, and it made you stand out from the other photographers that had maybe 17 or 30 reviews. So how do you feel that going for this one thing of trying to get these Google 5-star reviews, obviously that has had a knock-on effect to other stuff, because that's brought money in, it's brought SEO. How has that focusing on that one thing improved all the other areas of your business?
I mean, I guess the number is great. And apart from the fact, obviously, it's really good for SEO. Yeah. So it's before I started this process, I was halfway down page 2 of Google. So I never booked anyone off Google unless I had a Google ad, and I was traveling a lot of times, so it wasn't worth me doing paid ads. So it's great because it's most people do their search on Google. Google favors its own its own page. So if you haven't got a Google business page and you have a business, then you should have one. So that's one thing. You've got the SEO, but also if I'm going to buy something, I check out the reviews. If I'm on Amazon and I'm gonna get something, I will look at the reviews, and I will choose the one that's got the product that's got 1,000 4.6 star reviews over the one that's got 3 5-star reviews. So but numbers help, and they also help because inevitably at some point I'm going to get someone that leaves me a bad review. They're going to go to Yelp or Google, and they're going to say I'm crap, and maybe something's gone wrong on their shoot. Maybe they didn't like me, or maybe it's a troll. Yeah, these things happen. So if you're not actually managing your reputation and going after reviews, there's always a chance that you might have 6 reviews and then someone leaves you a 1-star review, and it might be completely unjustified. They might not have been someone you even work with, but it's going to give you a poor score, and that's going to affect how other people view the quality of your business. So just going after them is really positive for being able to manage your reputation. And it also, in terms of, I know you're probably going to ask me about LinkedIn later. Yeah. It gives you lots of material to share on LinkedIn. It's much easier to have a review and someone's photo, and then you've got almost an instant post without having to think too much about it.
Yeah, because obviously what you're doing is you're using your past customers to sell the benefits of your service and your high star, 5-star experience in their own words, without you having to say it yourself, and that always comes across a lot stronger than if you try to say it yourself. I'm just interested if anybody else uses Google My Business or the Google profile, and if they actively build up their Google 5-star reviews. So if you do, let me know. Just pop it in the comments. So obviously, as photographers, we know that sometimes getting hold of testimonials and getting hold of 5-star reviews can be a bit of a nightmare. People say, yes, I'll definitely do it. I'll give you a review, and then they never do. So to get 158 in relatively short space of time, you must have a process that ensures that everybody who leaves the studio leaves you a review and a 5-star review as well. So obviously I know you have to over deliver and really excel for them to want to leave that 5-star review. So what is your process and how do you go about getting them to do it?
Okay, so well, first of all, as I say, it's not just about, and you don't need to have a studio. It took me a long while to do a Google business page because I was actually embarrassed about the fact that before I had a studio, it was a kind of unfinished space at the end of our garage, and it was full of spiders. I actually had a mouse running around once during a session with someone. A mouse got in our garage, and I'm trying to shoot senior photos with a mouse running around, and so I felt that I couldn't say that I couldn't go after reviews, but I still used to pick them up. I didn't have a Google page, but I had a Facebook page, and I don't go after Facebook reviews particularly now. But I still got them because I made people feel good, and feeling good about themselves. It's about people come in. Most people I photograph don't want to have their photo taken. Most of them are not. They're not models. My average client is in their sort of 40s, 50s, 60s. Most of them aren't in the best, not all of them are in great shape, which is why if you look on my website, I don't have loads of very young models, and it's a mistake. I see with a lot of photographers, a lot of pet shop photographers, they shoot models because they want to have really attractive people on their website. But in fact, if I go to a website, if I want photography, I want to see someone that looked like me on a website. And
because it's more realistic, isn't it? Then you can empathise and connect with that.
Yeah. So it's not just what happens in front of the camera; it's everything else. So you have to think about the whole customer journey. And so on my website, I've got a range of ages. Yeah, I've got people that look good. I want people that have got an interesting look. But I've got clients from their early 20s up to their late 60s on my website. I've got a mixture of men and women. I've got a mixture of ethnicities, all different sizes and shapes of people. I've got real people. So that's the first thing. When people come to you, part of the experience is making them feel that they're important and that you've got them covered. And when they're in front of my lens as well, I'm bigging them up. I'm not going to be just standing there and shooting them. I'm building some rapport, but I'm also making them feel good about themselves. And I have yet to meet someone that I can't find something really attractive in, or something that I can compliment them on. I'm not going to give them false flattery. That people know that it comes across as insincere. Yeah. But you can still be positive. You can make people feel good. You can tell them how well they're doing. What amazing eyes they have. What a great sense of style. What a lovely smile. All the things that you can find, and being positive the whole time. And sometimes that's tough. I don't always feel that positive, but I can't bring low energy into the studio because that's going to affect the perception of my client. And if things aren't going well, and they don't always go well, I'll take a break. I'll stop and say, okay, so what's going on here? You don't look like you're loving the photos. You don't seem very relaxed. What can we do? So if there's a problem, you have to kind of take stock and address it. You have to find out what's going on and what you need to do to make it right. And I had a client in tears once. It was I said to this girl, what's going on? You don't look like you love these. And she broke down in tears and said, I look so old. I look so much older than my last photo. And she got really, really emotional. This was a couple of years ago. And I said, okay, let's grab a coffee. And we went and sat down. We had coffee and we talked it out for about an hour before we went and carried on shooting. And she was just deeply insecure about her looks. And she thought her husband didn't find her attractive anymore. And it was all these things came out in the session. And if I carried on shooting, she wouldn't have probably never used the photos. I mean, I was exhausted at the end of it, but it turned almost into a therapy session.
Yeah.
And she was super lovely. She wasn't being difficult. That was how she felt. But if you're shooting people, you have to realise that they've got things going on in their lives, and you don't know what that is. But all you can do is to try and be empathetic and help talk them through it. It doesn't happen often, but it does come up sometimes. And she
I think it's like that in a lot of experiences. You know, you can go into a restaurant and have beautiful food in one restaurant, beautiful food in another. Yeah. You know, reasonable service in one restaurant, no faults. But in the second restaurant, the waiter just does that little bit to make you feel special and make you feel that, you know, you're the only person in the restaurant. And it's that thing that you remember when you come away. It's that experience, and you know, when you can bring that into, you know, the fact that you put the camera down, you sit and talk to the woman, that's something she'll remember, you know. And so I know with the way you do your headshots, you do, you know, the book online, you coach them, you give them advice on what outfits to wear, you give them expression coaching, isn't that right? And then you actually view the images on the day there and then, so they don't have to come all the way back.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of these people are time poor, as in, you know, the busy professional people, and then they can be using their images straight away. So after they've had that amazing experience and you coach them through everything and you've got exactly what they want, how do you actually get these reviews and onto your Google My Business page?
I asked them for it. Well, first of all, first thing I'll say is, are you happy? Do you love your images? And I use love because I want them to say they love their images, not just like them. Now, if someone says, "Oh, well, I don't know about actually love, but yeah, they're okay," then I'm probably not even going to ask them for a review.
Right.
What I will do is say, "Oh, well, look, I want you to love them. So if we haven't got what you need, I'll get you back in front of the lights. You know, you're still in the studio. We can do something about it." Usually I say, no, it's me, it's not you, or something like that, and I'll make a joke of it. But I might decide, if they're not, you know, jumping up and down about their images, I might not ask them for a review. I might, because I don't want someone to leave a lukewarm review. For me, it's very important that I get a positive review. Majority of people, they're all fired up. I've made them feel good. I've worked hard to make sure they're comfortable and that they love what they're getting in. A lot of creating excitement comes from us. You know, so if we're showing people their images and we're just saying, "Oh, here we go," they're not going to necessarily see themselves in the best lights. I'll be saying, "Oh, look, you look fantastic there. My God, look how confident you look there." I am bigging them up in that as well. But again, it's genuine. It's not, you can't say something that isn't true. But I'm helping them see the positives. I see part of my role as guiding them in their selections as well. So I will try and guide them to the images that I like best. They don't always do it. Everyone sees themselves differently. But I'm creating I'm creating a bit of a buzz while I'm getting them to narrow down their images and selecting them. So if they say, "Yeah, loved it, really enjoyed it, I've had so much fun," which most of them do, I'll say, "Fantastic, I'm really pleased to hear that. Can you do me a favor? Could you write something to that effect on Google? You know, it helps my business enormously." I say it while I'm face to face and I look them in the eye when I'm saying it, because if the first time I ask is in an email after the session, they've lost that sense of euphoria. So I always ask in person. They all say, or nearly everyone says, "Yeah, of course I will. Be delighted to do that." So then when I deliver the images, I'll say at the end, "Here's your images. I hope you enjoyed your time at my studio. You kindly said you would leave me a 5-star review." So I remind them that they've made a commitment.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, I like that.
And I give them a link.
Yeah.
and then I wait, and if it doesn't come, if I don't get a response, if I don't get a review, and I don't get an email that says, oh yeah, I'll definitely do this, or an email saying, thank you so much, love the images, or an email saying, I like the images, but can you wipe my teeth a little more? If I don't get any kind of feedback, I'll leave it 3 or 4 days, and I will send them an email saying, hey, just checking that you've received everything okay, you've had no problems downloading anything, I want to make sure you're happy with the results. And then hopefully they're going to respond saying, oh yeah, God, I'm sorry, it's been really busy, and I must leave you that review. If they don't say, must leave you that review, I'll say, that's great to know you got them, that you're happy with them. Would you mind leaving me that review?
Yeah.
So I follow up on it. If they don't leave me the review, to be honest, I don't follow up again, because I don't want to sound desperate.
But I really like that, look them in the eye and ask them for that commitment. And it's because you put the onus back on them, aren't you? And, nobody likes to make a promise, or like break a promise, and I'm one of these people, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I've always been proud of that. I'm not, if somebody says, Jeff, are you going to come to this party? If I'm going to go, I'll go. And then somebody doesn't have to remind me, I will be there. If I'm not going to go, I'll say, no, I can't go. So I always say, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Actually, I think she just scrolled up there, because I've just saw a comment. Yeah, it was Abby. So Abby had said, and I know you've had this problem, Google algorithm has removed some of her reviews and she can't get them back. Is this right? You've had this problem.
Yeah,
have you had any response from this? Or
yeah, they say no, they've thought they're spam or they're not genuine and they remove them. I would say, but they do something every 6 months or so, and I suddenly lose five or six Google reviews overnight. They just disappear, and you can't get them back. I also have some that don't publish, a couple of months that don't publish. Same reason. It's Google. It's their site. There's nothing you can do about it. If you're gonna, when you're getting started, it's good to have some reviews, so you can reach out to past customers and everything. If you're going to do that, it is best to do it to kind of drip feed them. If you suddenly get a load of people all posting at the same time, the Google algorithm goes, whoa, that's a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd be really clever. I did a session last year. And I've never asked for them on group sessions, but I thought, I know, I'll actually ask everyone that stands in front of my camera if they'll give me a review. And I think I had 25 people. I don't know how many actually reviewed me, but the next day I was really excited because I think I'd picked up about 8 or 9 reviews, new reviews. Some of them they hadn't actually written any words, but they'd rated me. So I was very excited. The day after, they had all gone. Every single one of them had been removed. So I rang Google, and you can't ring Google. You can ring the people at Google Ads, but there is no one to ring at Google Business. Yeah. So I rang the Google Ads people, and they weren't really very interested. But what I found out is if you suddenly get a load of reviews on the same day, especially if they all come from the same IP address. Yeah. But Google says, there's something funny going on. So you have to be careful about who you ask and how frequently they come in. But they remove some. There's no rhyme or reason behind it. So again, it's trying to get everyone to leave one. Yeah. Is again, if you only get 10 reviews a year and Google removes half of them, you've only got 5 reviews left. If you're getting larger numbers, the chances are you're not going to lose half of them. But it still pisses me off.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the thing with, I mean, one, you know, once you get over that certain, it's like, you know, once you get over a certain amount, you've got that authority, and you've got that sort of reputation behind you anyway. You know, like with the 158 you've got now, but that also has a big knock-on effect to your business, and in a positive way. Now, one thing that you sort of diversifying from Google is obviously LinkedIn. Now, I can't remember how many followers you had on LinkedIn when we first started working together. It was probably about half what you got now, is it?
I think I had about 2,000.
Right, 2,000. So now
most of them were in the UK because they were business. You know, there were people I worked with when I was living in the UK, and clients, construction clients, and so on, and you know, my UK network. So when I came over here, and I was first came over here 12 years ago, I was trying to find a job in the construction industry. So again, I kind of built a bit of a network here, and then I kind of just not really bothered with LinkedIn. I went on occasionally to see, you know, what people I used to work with were doing, and but I didn't really spend a lot of time or put a lot of effort. Occasionally I would post a headshot and say, oh, this is Jeff, he rocked his headshot, and that would be it. It wasn't particularly useful content or anything, and I didn't really put a lot of effort in until the pandemic hit, and because I decided that 2020 was going to be my year. It was going to be the year I was really going to build my business, and that went well. COVID hit, and so when COVID hit, I decided, right, I'm going to get on LinkedIn. I'm going to start really pushing the headshots on LinkedIn. So that's how I found you, Jeff.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn. So I'd already started building my network, but not as aggressively as I started to after I started following your advice. So I think when we started out, I was 1,800, 2,000, something like that.
And obviously this year's target, well, easily this year, I think you'll probably be by the end of this year, it'll be well past the 5-figure mark. So you know, it's 8,600 or something now. So you know, it should be a few months. We'll be getting towards that 10,000 mark. But I know, because you know, you're inside my private group, that you are consistent. You know, you're one of those top ones with probably about 15, 20 people who are there, you know, who I see every single day, who is in my news feed, consistently posting. And you post really good content. You don't sell your services. You post storytelling content, or you post testimonials, and you've got plenty of those that sells the benefits of what you do. And then you reach out and connect. And I know you connecting with individuals, but you're also connecting with corporations to be able to do their group headshots as well. Mm-hmm. So how important is LinkedIn for you for building this brand, this posting and connecting? And tell us a little bit about your routine there.
Okay, so I would say at the beginning of 2020, I was on page 2 of Google. So I wasn't getting it. I wasn't really getting it. No one was finding me. So LinkedIn is really how I got 95% of my business through the pandemic, and really the early part of last year. Now people are beginning to find me on Google now, but when someone books through my website, and if I'll look them up on LinkedIn, and if we're not connected, I'll ask them when they come in, how did you find me? I would say now maybe a third of them are saying, oh, I did a Google search and you came out and I read your reviews. But 2/3 are still saying, oh, well, I've seen you on that. You're all over LinkedIn all the time.
Yeah. Funny enough, you know, the amount of photographers who connect with me or join my program or do some training with me, they'll say, oh, you work with Karen, don't you? Because they know, or I'll mention you, and people say, yeah, Karen, because you do have that is a very unusually high following for photography. Yeah. You know?
So they'll either say that, or they'll say, oh, John recommended you. You did John's headshot, and I'll say, oh, John who, and I'll look him up, and I met John because I actually sent him a connection request on LinkedIn, and then we started a conversation, and then he came to me for his headshots. So back in 2020, LinkedIn was allowing more connection requests, and I was sending out 50, 60 a day, because, you know, I couldn't work during lockdown, and the early part of the pandemic, I had no clients. I had lots of time on my hands, so I would scroll through, and I was looking for. I did your exercise, you know, your client avatar, build up your ideal client. So I was looking for my ideal client on LinkedIn, and sending out a connection request. I always left a little message. I never send out just a request with no message. And then I was trying to start a conversation, because there was no work. I do a lot less of this now, but back then I was trying to keep a conversation going, and I started getting more inquiries through LinkedIn. And I mean, now I guess I probably get 4 or 5 people a week on LinkedIn who ask me what my process is or what my rates are. And I'm not going to get all of them. They're not all my clients. Some of them I tell them my pricing, and they go, oh, okay. And that's the last I hear. But I'm looking at building those relationships on LinkedIn, and I get inquiries through, but I'm also getting seen. And it's not just about the instant gratification of getting an inquiry through, actually managing to time it perfectly with, you know, that's, oh, hello, this is let me just this is Arwin's counter cruising to see if there's any food coming her way. So it's you do luck out, you do get instant gratification occasionally, but mostly now I'm getting those inquiries from people I've been connected to for 6 months or a year or 2 years, because when you're building your network, it's not just about the people that need your services now. It's about connecting with people and getting seen by them, so that when they do need a headshot at some point in the future, they know to come to me, because they see me all the time on LinkedIn. But it's also when I engage with their posts and or they comment on my posts, I could potentially be seen by their network. So as I'm growing my network, I'm actually picking up inquiries from second degree connections, because they're seeing me out there. And sometimes the timing's right. Sometimes I think I'm creating an opportunity, because people think, oh, she does headshots. Do you know, I haven't had a new headshot for 10 years. I probably should be thinking about one. They've seen a post that I've put up there that says, you know, when was the last time you had your headshot done? And people expect your headshot to, and they've read it. And I've created a need. So, and sometimes it's not the right time now, but it might be in 6 months' time. And then if I post once and they don't see me for 6 months, they'll forgotten me completely.
Totally, yeah. It doesn't take long on social media for people to forget who you are. You know, a couple of weeks and there'll be somebody else popping up. And
so I post 5 times. I try and post 5 times a week on LinkedIn, and I can't remember. You probably know this. You know, you have all this knowledge, Jen. The LinkedIn only releases a post to, or not, shows a post to a small percentage of your network. So, do you know what that number is? It's some quite small number, isn't it? So
that the initial, you know, when you initially post, it goes out to a small. The LinkedIn bot usually comes back within that 2-hour element from when you first posted, to assess what's called the human element, and how much interaction is on your post, and how many people are, first of all, liking it, more importantly, commenting on it and the comments that you put on it, and then also the dwell time as well, which is how long people maybe stop in the news feed and just look at your picture. That's classed as dwell time, when they stop the scroll. And the other one is when they press that see more bit. and then the counter starts ticking, and that is how long somebody's actually digesting your content. One thing to watch out for is what they call dwell bounce, which is if somebody clicks in and then clicks back out because you might have put a false headline on, or your content isn't very enjoyable. So that can actually work against you. But I think, it's having that, telling stories, because Andy's just said, he struggles with words, he struggles with things to say. And I think talk about the people, that if you think about every single person you photograph, they came for a reason. So why did you can ask the clients when they come in, work for such and such a company, why have you come in and what are you hoping to get from your headshot? So they're going to tell you in their own words. Yeah. To be honest, I've had this picture for 5 years. I've changed my style, everything that, and I want to look more professional. I feel I'm getting left behind by my competitors. They're way ahead of me. Everybody looks more branded. So then what that person's just told you becomes the story that goes along with your post. Don't post and go, I met Jamie's great, and I was using this Fuji camera and I was using this lens. Clients aren't interested in that. But if clients can read another client's story and then go, oh my God, yeah, that's a point. Actually, my headshot's 5-year-old and I could do with updating my brand. They can read something in your post that might be a trigger that gets them to do the same thing,
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. I've had one of my top posts ever was I had a client came in and he had these really, really cool round glasses. And
I know who you mean. Actually, he's on your website, isn't he?
Yeah. Super lovely guy, and we started joking because I send out a preparation guide. I did a whole preparation guide, and I talk about what to bring, what to wear, and I used to say, if you wear spectacles, make sure that they're not scratched up and everything, and if you have more than one pair, bring them all, and we'll kind of play around with them. But I didn't know that over here in the US, no one calls them specs.
Yeah.
They call them glasses. And he thought this was hilarious. And he said he had to actually look it up, because I said, if you make sure you bring your specs. He didn't know what that was. So I did a whole post on the kind of lost in translation and some of the funny thing. Because for me, it's something that makes me a little bit different. We've all got our unique selling points, or something that makes us different from our competition. One of mine is that I talk funny, so I talk a different language. But I got really good engagement on, and I still occasionally get engagement on that post, and that was probably 2 years ago. But really, when I'm writing posts, a lot of them, if I'm either writing about something funny that happened, or something that I think is going to be useful to my network. I've now got cat hair flying everywhere, so hot hair up my nose. And I will recycle posts, because not everyone is going to see every post. So I don't normally put up the same image again, but I will take the text and I'll just adapt it slightly. And I've got a few kind of old favorites that I'll probably post every couple of months, and I just adjust them slightly every time. But the chances of any of my network seeing them, even if they do see them twice, actually remembering that it'll be a different picture, and remembering that I've put the same content in before, so it's stuff that hopefully someone new will see and will find engaging.
Yeah, because obviously, with your process, you're connecting with new people every single day. So those new people who connect with you possibly as of yet haven't seen your content. So when you repost in 3 months' time, that's going to be new to them. And your 8,000 people you've got now, maybe only 800 have seen that original post in the first place. So the chances of them seeing it again is very slim, because you've got another 8,000 people for it to show up to.
Yeah, and they've probably forgotten anyway.
Yeah. And as you just said, out of interest, how long do you spend on LinkedIn? Doing, if you added it up, doing your commenting, your posting, and your connecting roughly on a daily basis?
Well, my husband would say far too long. I don't know. I guess it depends. I mean, like last week, I was crazy busy. I didn't spend very long at all on LinkedIn.
You still posted every day, though, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
BTS, I tell you, BTS are always get good engagement, and they're the easiest posts to do. So if I'm out on location and it's not too crazy busy, I will try and take a photo of my setup or someone behind the camera, or clients' offices, because if I'm on location. I was with a pet food company last week, and they had dog bowls hanging from the ceiling. It was really cool.
Yeah.
All kind of crazy stuff like that. So when I post, I posted them actually to Instagram, because that's the sort of post that goes down well on Instagram. But I didn't spend a lot of time on. I think I just did my setup on one BTS and my setup on one of some pictures they had on the wall. But when I post a composite from that, I'm going to post a few more of their offices, because and I'll tag them, because they're going to love that. They've put all this effort into doing this really cool office and making it pet friendly and everything. So if I post it and I tag them, the chances are they may not share it, but they're probably going to comment on it, and they're probably people in their networks will see it. Their followers are going to see it. So it's a bit of free marketing for me.
Definitely. And you should always, as they always state, if you're doing a post, try and tag the person in, and then try and tag the company. If you're struggling to tag the company, you may need to go and follow that company's page, so it will show up. So if you type in the company's name, the @ and the company's name, nothing comes up, head over to their page, follow their company page. You might need to come out of LinkedIn and go back in and refresh, and then that time you should actually see that company come up.
Yes. So I find, but I guess it depends. If I'm really busy, I'm really behind on retouching and everything, because I had a busy week last week. So I'm not spending very much time. And if I've got a client this afternoon, so today I'm not going to have much time to spend on LinkedIn. But I would say an average day, I'd probably spend an hour on LinkedIn. Sometimes more. If I've got a quiet week, I might spend a bit more. One of the things I like to do is be very targeted about the connection requests that I send out. So I'll try searching, end of the year, I'm normally looking for chief financial officers or financial directors, because I know that they'll be sending out the company reports. Over here, the financial year is January to December. So I know financial reports are going out January, February, March of the year. So at the end of the year, I'm targeting anyone that I think is going to be potentially needing a headshot for their financial reports. So I'll be looking for people. I'll do a search. I'll look to see if they've got how many followers they've got, how active they are on LinkedIn. Now that LinkedIn is restricting the number of requests you send far more than it used to, I'm being very targeted about. I don't want to waste any invitations on people that haven't been on LinkedIn for a long while or don't post on there and might not see it. I don't have Sales Navigator. I'm going to do the trial, but I pay for I've got the LinkedIn Premium, that's the lowest level, but I pay for it annually. So I'm going to wait for that to expire before I do Sales Navigator, in case I decide I don't want to pay the extra for it for the rest of the year. But I'll look down. You can see latest activity. If they've got nothing in there, they might be a lurker, so they still might see the invitation. So I'll click on more activity and I'll look to see if they're liking posts and things like that.
And do you narrow it down just to this Tennessee, or do you narrow down to Nashville? Is it just local, or do you do?
Yeah, so I'm searching for Nashville metropolitan area. I'm looking primarily for C-suite, so chief execs, chief financial officer, chief operating officer, and so on, and vice presidents. I will look at directors. Over here, directors tend to be the UK equivalent to a VP is a director. A director over here is something a little different. They tend to be more kind of office manager type roles. But they're still senior roles, so I'll do directors, but I want them to be active on LinkedIn. I'll also executive assistants, so PAs are really good to connect with because they're the people that often are tough. So I look for them, but again, I want to be active. Some of my biggest projects have come through exec assistants or PAs. They found me. I haven't necessarily been connected with them, but they're potentially people with power, so they're good to know.
That's really good too. That's really good too.
So I send out a connection request. I say, hey, I'm Karen. I'm a specialist headshot and corporate branding photographer, and I'm based in Nashville. And I see we've got mutual connections because I'll have mutual connections if they're a second degree connection. Yeah. So I see we've got lots of mutual connections, or quite a few mutual connections.
Oh. Looks like Karen's vanished, but I'll give her a couple of seconds to see if she's come back. But I think you'll probably agree that was a really, really informative, really helpful, and great advice from Karen, especially about the Google reviews and also about how to utilize LinkedIn for your business better. So don't forget to tune in tomorrow. So at 4 p.m. GMT British time, I'm going live with Annabelle DeFlux, who is a band and concert photographer, and we'll find out how Annabelle has really grown a huge following, has worked with hundreds of bands in the US in a market that's really, really hard to break into, actually. And we'll find out her journey as a photographer. Her work is absolutely phenomenal, so hopefully she'll share some of our work too. And she's also an ambassador for quite a few companies, and one of them being Sigma. So thanks again, guys. Sorry we lost Karen, but she did give us an hour of her time and some great tips and advice. And look forward to seeing you tomorrow if you can turn up for the live. We've got a few more next week and the week after. So now that we're back on the swing of doing lives again, going to try and do them every week. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Andrew, Alan, Dirk. Thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to follow my hashtag, Creating Successful Photographers, and you can watch the rerun of this under that hashtag. Hashtag, type into the search bar, hashtag, Creating Successful Photographers. Thanks again, guys, and hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye now.